As I'm sure you're all aware, today we're going to talk to you about the idea of flipped learning. Now, many educators are experimenting with the idea of a flipped classroom model. So today we're going to look into what flipped learning is, what flipped learning looks like, and we're going to conclude by discussing the advantages and the disadvantages of a flipped classroom model. Now, before moving on, we would like to pose you a very interesting question that Peter was asked while taking part in an online discussion around flipped learning. Do our students need to learn in new ways as much as teachers need to learn to teach in new ways? There are a number of reasons we found this question so interesting, the main being the ever-changing nature of our society and of the society we are preparing our students to enter. As it says on the screen, we are currently preparing students for jobs that don't necessarily exist, using technologies that potentially haven't been invented yet, in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. The advancement of technology and the internet and the presence it has in our lives is something we feel we need to embrace in education and use to our advantage. When we look at how we deliver our lessons and subject content, we need to be looking at integrating the resources available to us. The majority of us have thousands of years worth of human knowledge in our pockets or in our handbags in the shape of mobile phones or other devices. Most households are now connected to the internet in one way or another. It makes sense that we use this to our advantage and teach our students to do this effectively. We need to be looking to ensure our students are learning how to learn. We must develop learners ready to tackle challenges they cannot anticipate. This is something we are forever being told. Journals and articles are being published daily, highlighting the importance and guiding us on how to do this. Independence and resilience are words used on a daily basis in our profession when talking about our young people. This brings us back to our question, and the answer is yes, our students do need to learn in new ways in order to survive in our modern society. This brings us on to the notion of the flipped classroom. Flipped learning is often described as a concept that turns the traditional classroom model on its head.
So, flipped learning, for me, basically, it's a pedagogical approach that allows our students, through active learning, to work at their own pace, which I believe is very important. It is a move away from our traditional classroom group learning to a more individualised model. The reason I like this so much is because it then makes our students, or gives our students, that accountability for their own learning. In this flipped class model, what we're basically doing is the work that we would have done in classroom, the group work, the talk and talk, all the different pedagogies that we use in our classroom, we then flip that, and the students would work on that at home in their own time, and the work that we now do in the classroom would be totally focused around feedback on answering questions, testing and model answers. So to summarise, the characteristics of flipped learning would be that students work independently at home on the normal basic classroom lesson. The flip side of that is that when we're in class, we will then be getting students to use that knowledge gained at home at their own time, at their own pace, to look at answering and assessing difficult and more challenging subject knowledge questions. So what does this flipped classroom model look like? First and foremost, let's not get carried away here. This isn't just a case of photocopying some text out of a book and asking students to read and glean information to bring knowledge to your lesson. This is about using the technology that's available to us, the plethora of technology that is available at our fingertips through YouTube videos and through websites, to plan sessions, to plan seminars that the students can access at home through the use of Prezi or PowerPoint presentations, which allow them to gain the knowledge that we need them to focus on in our subject area, work at home at their own pace, watching these videos that we make for them, then bringing that knowledge to the classroom so that in that lesson we can really then get down to the basics and nitty-gritty of working on model answers, assessment, and really challenging our students and really drawing out the knowledge that they've gained through doing that flipped learning at home.
Here is an example of how we have used the model of flipped learning in PE. This is a clip from a video we created to explain the muscular system. The students were asked to watch the video for homework and complete the following questions in preparation for their GCSE lesson. The students were then required to apply this knowledge by completing exam-style questions and spend time discussing model answers. This allowed me and their peers to give instant feedback rather than wait for it to be marked and to improve via DIT. I also found this created a thirst for learning, as students were encouraged to note any questions they had during the video and ask during the starter activity. Here is another example of how we have flipped our classroom in PE. This is an interactive picture. It's essentially a picture with links to information surrounding the subject of successful sports leaders, and it's something we use in our BTEC lessons. You can see how clicking on the links bring up information the students will need surrounding the subject and will require to complete the task that we set them. Now, the task we set up to accompany this interactive activity was to complete a learning map. I'm sure you've all seen or used learning maps before. Obviously, you're completing one now, so you have. These are just another interactive way to engage your students, but also allow them to develop the knowledge required for their next lesson. They would then bring this learning map to the class and apply their newfound knowledge however you see fit. If we look at this in terms of Bloom's taxonomy, this means that students are doing the lower levels of cognitive work, i.e. gaining knowledge and comprehension outside of the class, and focusing on the higher forms of cognitive work in the class, where they have the support of their peers and of their teacher. Now, obviously, these are resources we created in PE to allow students to complete the traditional classroom activities at home and come to the class to complete what is traditionally homework activities. However, you don't always need to go to this extent. There is a number of resources online which will help you do this. The GCSE pod that's been recently introduced by Miss Michael is one of the prime examples of the many resources available to you.